Hey, it's Kyle again with Main Street Preppers, and today we're going to review an induction cooktop. I like these induction cooktops because they're low on power consumption. We live outside of Washington, D.C., and we have some pretty frequent power outages. And so we looked into getting a whole house generator, and it just wasn't cost effective for us. I couldn't justify the price, and as a lot of you know that when I do my demonstrations and presentations, I'm really big on prepping on a dime. So we bought a portable generator that will run about half the house. So if power went out, we really wouldn't be able to use our cooktop upstairs, which is 4 burners and runs anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 watts. So I like this one because you can plug it in. You can run it for anywhere from 600 to 2,000 watts. So what we're going to do is we're going to boil a quart of water and see how long it takes. Upstairs, it takes 7.5 minutes. So down here, we're going to give this a try. I'm going to set it at 800 watts. And I'm going to set my timer and then go. There we go. And the reason I'm going to set it at 800 watts, that's a little bit low. Yes, I could cook it at a higher wattage. It'd go a little bit faster. But anyone who watches my presentation will know that I'm a huge fan of these small generators, and this one's about 800 watts, and as you can see, it's pretty beat up and a little rusty. It's been in the garage for about 10 years, and so I about every 6 months run it to make sure that it runs, make sure it's tested, and then that maxes out about 800 watts. So if you have the induction cooktop, you can do 800 watts. So we've got our thermometer that we're going to set up here. Turn that on. And to show that there's no funny business going on, we're starting at 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's what the water is. So it hasn't been preheated or anything like that. When you're setting up and using an induction cooktop, it works on magnetism, not just heat. And so the magnetism creates heat. The advantage of it is faster. It uses less power when you're using an emergency situation, or just in any situation. If you're using for a holiday party or an event or catering, it works out great. The disadvantage on it is you have to make sure that your pans are magnetic. So we've got a nice set of pans that we were given years ago, and I tried to use it and it doesn't work because it's not magnetic. If you want to test it, just use a magnet. And this is cast aluminum, so unfortunately it's just not really going to work. A lot of times when you get this and you try it out, if you don't read the instructions, like most of us, it's going to chirp and chirp and chirp when you try to use this, and you're going to wonder what in the world is going on, and it's because you don't have anything magnetic. So if you check this out, this is magnetic. As you also know, again, I am very big on prepping on a dime, so I actually found this little guy. This is pretty expensive retail, but I found it for $10 at a yard sale. Yard sales are a boon and a big department store, as it were, for finding good things for disaster preparation. So that's nice and magnetic. And let's see, we're starting already, and we're already at 103 degrees, and we're 2 minutes and 20 seconds into it. Now, I like heavy cast iron and cast steel. You can use something that's a little bit thinner. Again, I think I paid $2 for this little guy at a yard sale, and it is magnetic, so it will work great. But I like heavier things that will hold the heat longer. So for example, if you put some rice in here and brought it to a boil and then took it off the heat with the lid on and maybe put a towel over it, it's going to still hold enough residual heat to cook your rice in 15 or 20 minutes. This is another guy that I bought. I think I paid $1 for him to make coffee. Coffee is very important. I don't know about you, but my spouse doesn't want to be spoken to until she's had that first cup of coffee. So this is nice, but again, it's not magnetic. So while we're still waiting on it to heat up, we're at 117 degrees. I'd like to tell people while we're waiting, because you don't want to sit and watch water boil, that's pretty boring. There are a lot of foods you can buy now, and because this is being filmed in the time of the pandemic, back in the day, I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and back in the day, I bought these meal kits that were 30-day meal kits. I bought them when they were on sale, and they were maybe $40, $50. Now, because of the pandemic, they have rocketed up to around $120. Now, they are nice because they're self-contained, they're sealed, they last a long time. You can use the container as a chair if you have to bug out. You can sit on it, you can put water in it, and you can use it for storage. So there's a lot of good facets and points to it. Now, if you don't want to spend $120 for that, another disadvantage is they don't come in individual meals. They come in meals that are ready really for 4 people. So if you have 4 people, open it up and it's great. But if you only have 1 or 2 people, once you open it up, it's opened up. Now you can try to portion it out and make smaller portions by adding water and cooking it, but that's kind of a pain. And so for the expense for $120, some people think it's worth it. It's a judgment call. But for $120, you can actually buy a lot of good stuff that's single-serve containers that you don't have to try to split up. So for example, when this is on sale, you can buy these for $1. So you could buy, for $120, you can buy 120 of these. Not that you want to buy 120 of these. You can also buy, for about $1.50 or so, you can buy chili. I like to have chili over rice. When you're thinking about doomsday prepping and disaster preparation, I tell people, just because this apocalypse doesn't mean you have to be miserable. Think of foods that you can combine and try together. For example, the spaghetti and pasta goes on sale for around $1. And I'm a big fan of pasta. As you can tell, I would be just happy heating this up, putting a little bit of salt and pepper and oil on it, and having that for a meal. I'm happy with that. That's not good for everyone. So what's very big in this area, and there's a restaurant that's made a lot of money off of it, is Chili Mac. And there's also all of these other different types of combinations you can use. And I tell people, don't be miserable. Yes, think of the staples, rice and beans and pasta and things that last a long, long time and have a long shelf life. But don't forget things that make you happy and make you comfortable. So my wife is a big fan of smoked oysters, so we buy these when they're on sale, and we go through them. And sardines, my wife's not a big fan of sardines, but I do like sardines in and on things. So have things that you use and that you can go through. And that's a big issue with a lot of people, is that you buy all this stuff and it may go to waste. So when you're doing your disaster preparation and you're planning out your food, write down the things that you need and you use constantly and that you can go through just like a big restaurant would with their inventory. So we are 6 minutes into it and we're at 162 degrees. So some other things that you might want to decide on is I buy canned ham because you can use canned ham in everything. I'm not a big fan of tuna. I got sick off of it when we were on a medical mission in Haiti when I turned 18 some years ago. How many years ago is none of your business. I don't like the smell of tuna. It makes me nauseous, but my wife loves tuna. And so that's why we have it on the shelves. There's some other things in here that we want to hold on to. And one thing, and this is to tell you how long I've been prepping. If you look on here, this is one of the first bags of rice I bought years ago. And I am very big into dating things. So when you buy something, if it doesn't have an expiration date printed on the container, I go back to my restaurant days. I was food and beverage for a big hotel company for long years ago, and I own my own restaurant. So I'm very big on when something comes in, putting a date on it so that you can track it. And I held on to this because I think in 20 years we're going to try it out and see if the rice still tastes good after 20 years, after I tout rice and pasta and beans are good items for disaster prep. And again, on the whole thing of being comfortable, don't skimp. Make sure you have comfort, real comfort food. M&Ms are great. Love them. And if you're going to cook rice, you probably don't want to cook just plain rice. So when these are on sale, I like to get the bouillon. Take a look at the ingredients on them. Sometimes most of the time, you look at the first ingredient and it's salt. So take a look at stuff and see if the real true ingredients are vegetables or vegetable derivatives or whatever meat that the bouillon is supposed to taste like. And so that will help immensely. I'm not a big fan of plain dry or plain white rice by itself, but flavored stuff is really great. So now we're at 8.5 minutes. We're at 190 degrees. We're getting there. So we're going to talk about a couple other things that you can hold on to. These are things that I bought at the garage sale. So I bought this little lamp. It's an LED lamp, and it's great. I think I paid a couple dollars for it. The disadvantage on it is you use C batteries. You kind of want to use things that use AA's now, particularly rechargeable AA's, because C batteries are just a battery not many people have. My wife and I are realtors. We clean out houses getting ready for sale, so we find all kind of batteries. For us, it works great, but you could find smaller, less expensive batteries to use. Taking a look around here just before we hit our boiling point, as it is. Make sure you also have a variety of things. You don't want to just have 20 years supply of rice, which I seem to have sometimes. Make sure you mix it up. So we've got some beans, and we've got some chili, and we've got some corned beef hash, and I've got some vegetables in there. Make sure that you have some vegetables in there like your mom says. Another thing that you need to have is, if you go to ready.gov, they say have a 3 days supply of food and water. I think that's a great start, and that's the important part. That's a start. I tell people when I do presentations that you really need to have a minimum, to me, a minimum of 90 days worth of material, or worth of food and water. Now, it's impractical to have enough cases of water for 90 days. So make sure you have larger containers, and then make sure you have something for water purification, which is another video that we're doing. You can use your big barrels for catching rainwater, and you can filter those, and you can disinfect those too. So that's really big. The general rule is 1 gallon per person per day, so that's a lot of bottled water to use. We use these on job sites when we're cleaning out houses for our crew. Okay, so now we are at 213 degrees. We are at 10 minutes and 40 seconds, which takes a little bit longer than the cooktop upstairs, but you're using less power. Open it up, and we got a boil, as you can see. And so we're going to shut this off. And now, one of the big selling points of induction is that it doesn't generate heat. It generates magnetism, which creates heat. And so it's cool to the touch when you start. Now, I tell people, please be very careful when you're dealing with this, because it doesn't cool down automatically when you take the pot or whatever vessel off of the cooktop. So if we do a heat measurement now, we are now at 191, and that's enough to burn someone. So please be very careful when you're using them. I love them, but like anything else in the kitchen, you need to use care. Thanks for watching. Please follow us. If you have any comments, I'd love to hear them. Any suggestions? Please leave my mom out of this. She's suffered enough. Thanks for watching.